Hi yogis and welcome, day 7. I cannot believe we've managed to get this far. We're halfway there. Well, we will be after today anyway. So today, day 7, we're going to be talking about strength. Yoga has many benefits. Obviously it makes you a little bit more supple, makes you more flexible, which isn't actually the main reason why you do yoga. So a lot of people who come to me saying I'm not flexible enough, it doesn't really matter, it's not about that. But yoga is incredibly good at building strength in the muscles, in the legs and the arms. Obviously you do get that flexibility as well, but that's not what you're trying to do when you do yoga. Really yoga is more about trying to bring your awareness to what your body can and can't do, but also having that acceptance that, you know, maybe some days you can't do certain things, but also not beating yourself up about it. And strength is one of the things that's really important, because obviously when you're doing things like standing poses, when you're doing warriors, obviously, which we've just done, you do need that strength in the legs. So trying to build strength in the legs, or in everywhere really, to be honest with you, in your arms and in the lungs, in the breathing as well. All these things sort of really help just make you function a lot better, and actually make you feel a lot better, and just really help improve your general health. So today we are talking strength. So there's going to be a lot of standing type of poses. So obviously if you do need some support like a chair or something, that's fine. We're not doing balancing, we're just doing sort of strength in the legs, but obviously just be mindful of how that feels for you if you are a bit weak in the legs. So as always, if you have a blanket, make sure you've got one handy. I'm just going to put mine underneath my bottom. We're just going to check into ourselves again, as we always do at the start of a practice. Again, cross legs are optional. You can bring the legs out in front of you, but hopefully after the last few days you should have felt a little bit more openness in the hips. Even if your knees are up here, that's absolutely fine. So just allow yourself just to come into a nice upright position wherever you are. So we're just going to try to draw the belly in. Just drop the shoulders down, maybe just drop the chin just a little bit towards the chest, not all the way. We're not strengthening the legs in the back of the neck too much, we're just allowing the head to tilt back at all. So just try and make it parallel, just a little bit below parallel with the floor. Closing those eyes if that feels okay for you. Just take a few moments just to check into how you're feeling. So it's nice just to use these moments just to scan your body. Maybe starting with the head, just looking at yourself and going, how am I feeling today in my head? How's my jaw feeling? How's my neck feeling? How are my shoulders feeling? How's my belly feeling? Am I breathing into my belly? How are my hips feeling? How are my knees feeling? My feet, my ankles, my arms, my hands? So just checking into those areas that maybe feel a little bit tense or tired or a little bit restricted. But if you can, see if you can use that breath just to breathe into those areas. The breath is a really good way of just releasing that tension before we start. Just closing those eyes down. Just allow that breath to come into its natural rhythm, its natural flow. And maybe now, just slowly opening those eyes, we're just going to release the shoulders a little bit first, and then we're going to move into some standing poses. Okay, so I'm just going to release the shoulders just by doing some very gentle rolls with those shoulders. Just, again, it's quite nice to actually listen to the creaks and the crunches from your shoulders. Everyone has them, I know I have them. It's nice just to really notice them, sort of see how they feel. Sometimes you don't actually realise. I get a lot of people that come to see me go, oh, my shoulders are absolutely fine. It's only really when they do these sort of movements they actually realise they're actually really tight, which is fair enough. Only all around your body. So we're going to just bring the arms into an interlock in front of us. So just interlock those fingers. We're going to push the palms away. At the same time, we're going to just drop the head down between your arms. Just pull the belly back towards the spine so you get a really lovely curve in that spine. So again, the further you push your hands away from your belly or your chest, the stronger that stretch is going to be in the shoulders. Slowly, if you can, straighten ourselves up, keeping the arms into that interlock. If you have issues with your shoulders, again, it's optional just to keep your elbows bent. That's absolutely fine. However, if you do want to, it's nice just to stretch up, but again, it's equally okay to have the elbows bent. We're going to do a little bit of a twist over to the left, so let's just slowly twisting to the left. Let's release those hands, bring the right hand onto that left knee, the left hand behind. Draw yourself nice and tall as you slowly spiral around your spine, looking over that shoulder. Back to centre. In front, the hands in front of us again, push those palms away. So again, really stretch into that belly. Pull the belly towards your spine as much as you can. And slowly straightening up. So again, keeping the elbows bent if that feels okay for you. Or stretching it towards the ceiling. So again, just be mindful of how that feels for you. I'm going to just twist around to the right now. So let's just bring the left hand onto that right knee. The right hand just onto the floor behind us, just twisting that chest around. So we're going to interlock the hands behind our back. So similar to the interlock we've just done, we're going to just interlock the hands like that, behind the back. Just draw those shoulder blades together. So again, just try to keep the head sort of like parallel just towards the chest, so you get a nice stretch into the back of that neck, into the shoulders. Just imagine those shoulder blades coming together. Wonderful. Let's just release those arms. And again, just roll those shoulders, if you feel a little bit of a shake out in there. We're going to come onto our hands and knees. So as always, if you need a little bit of padding underneath your knees, you can fold your mat up in the middle, so you've got a little bit of extra padding there. Or equally, use your blanket if you've got one handy. So again, really spreading those fingertips out, knees underneath your hips. Just do a few cat-cows just to ease that spine a little bit. Make sure the tops of your feet are nice and flat on the floor. It's nice to have the toes curled under, but sometimes it's nice just to stretch them. So again, you can alternate actually between flat feet and then curling those toes under. So we're going to just slowly drop the belly down towards the floor. If you breathe in, take that breath in through the nose, and then breathing out away from the floor. Breathing back in, press the belly down, head up. Breathing out. Belly down towards the floor as you take a breath in. Really feel that lovely belly dropping down towards the floor. Try to be strong in those arms. And then breathing out, you just really push away from the floor. The main thing with this one is you're trying to push away from the floor. So try to sink into your shoulders, really push into those arms. Again, belly down as you're breathing in, arching away as you're breathing out. Let's come into a nice neutral spine as we move into a downward dog. So let's curl those toes under. We're going to very gently bring those knees off the floor. So just taking your time. So again, the knees can be as bent as you need them to be. Okay, making sure that those arms are really strong. So pedaling out with those feet. So like one heel and the other. Just taking your time. Just enjoying that process. So all this time what we're trying to do is build that strength into the shoulders, build that strength into the arms. Just taking your time. Okay. So we're going to slowly bring the weight forward into the arms. Come into a plank. So again, from this option, you can come into a half plank if you want to. You can bring the knees down onto the floor. That's absolutely fine. We're just going to build that strength into the arms. Really pull that belly back towards the spine. If this is an easier option, that's fine. If you want to go for the full plank, just bring those knees off the floor. Just imagine the whole line is really strong. Push those heels away. Push away from the floor. Downward dog. Push that bottom into the air. Allow the head to release. So don't forget, you've got easier options here. You can just bring the knees down onto the floor. You can come into all fours if that's an easier option. So again, you don't need to come to the downward dog if you're really struggling with those shoulders and those arms. But you get more out of it the more you build it strength into those arms and those legs. The more process and the more progress you will make. And I'm going to slowly walk those hands towards your feet, so bending those knees, slowly walking those hands back. Staying into that forward fold, just releasing the head again. Make sure those feet are about hip width apart. then slowly walk those hands back away into a downward dog. Just taking your time. Pedaling up those feet. Okay, this time we're going to bend those knees again. We're going to walk those feet to join your hands. So just take little tiny steps, no rush. Keeping the knees bent, so we're not expecting you to be able to touch your hands onto the floor if you've got straight legs. So to make sure your legs are bent. So if you've got your feet about hip width apart, we're just going to slowly heel toe those feet together so your big toes are touching. You've got a little gap just behind your heels. Allow the head to drop down, bend those knees. Okay, so very slowly, we're going to drop the bottom down as much as we can, bending those knees so your head is coming up. And then we're going to slowly push ourselves up to standing. Wonderful. So from here, you should have your feet nice together. Basically, what we're trying to do here is make sure your knees stay nice and safe. So we're bracing those knees. So you should find that those knees are together. Okay, so we're going to come into chair pose, which is a really good pose for strengthening the legs. Now the thing with chair pose, you don't have to go too far down. If you want to put a little bend in the knees, that's fine. Obviously, depending on how sort of healthy your knees feel. Obviously, you can go a lot lower if you want to. But again, the choice is yours. Okay, so the main thing with chair is we're trying to keep those shoulders nice and open. So if you can start off with just the shoulder blades back, just relax those arms down. So coming into Tadasana, just tuck your bottom underneath. Nice and broad with the chest. Very slowly, just allow yourself just to settle down. So imagine the energy going down into your feet, so really grounding down with those feet. You should be able to feel all those four corners of your feet. Nice breath in and out. Sometimes it's nice just to close these eyes as well, just to really get that sensation of where you are. So to bring those hands into your heart center. So the main thing here, again, we're trying to keep the shoulder blades together as much as we can, really opening up the chest, we're expanding into the chest, trying to keep the head up. Now the main thing with this one is we're trying to keep a nice long line from the tailbone up to the top of your head. So we're trying not to come into this sort of slouchy pose, which a lot of people tend to do. We're just going to put a lot more strain on other parts of the body. So what we're trying to do is just move those legs and those hips. So just bring your hands into your heart center. Keep the head nicely up, not up towards the ceiling, but just nicely parallel. And then very gently, you'll probably find that your weight will come into your heels a bit, which is absolutely fine. So very slowly, just stick your bottom out a little bit. Just imagine you've got a chair just behind you. So it's going to take a slow sit down onto that chair. Wonderful. So again, if this feels all okay for you, you can stay here. Obviously, if you want to go a little bit lower, you've got the option to come a little bit lower. So again, at the end of the day, it's sort of a bit of a balance this. So you need to obviously make sure that your bottom is being counted by where the weight of your chest is coming. So you go a bit lower if that feels okay. Obviously this is going to put a lot more strain onto those thighs and those knees. So if you do have issues with your knees, again, just go a little bit higher up. Just think high stool rather than low chair. Wonderful. So we take a couple of breaths here. So you might find that those thighs are starting to burn a little bit now, which is fine. So very slowly we're going to push down with those feet, gently straighten those legs up. We're going to come into a forward fold. So again, if you can, just allow those legs to straighten, just allow the head to drop down. And again, you might find that you can touch the floor with your hands. If you can't, that's fine. Just maybe bring the hands onto the thighs or the calves. Just nice to release that spine. We're stretching those muscles in the back. Trying to do a nice counter pose. Okay, so then slowly bend those knees again, coming back up with the head, back into a standing pose. Wonderful. So let's slowly circle those ankles. So we're going to come into Warrior 2 now. What we need to do is just loosen the hips a little bit. So if you want to bring your feet to about hip width apart now, which I'll turn to face you. We're going to do a little bit of circle with those hips because we're going to do a triangle as well, so we need a little bit of movement into those hips. So just imagine you've got a bit of hula hoop around that waist, so bring the weight to one side then the other. Just slowly circling those hips around. Again, if that feels more uncomfortable with the legs a little bit back hip width apart, you can go a little bit wider, you can go a little bit narrow. So again, the weight to one side than the other. Just get those hips loosening up a little bit. And then maybe go in the opposite direction. Imagine that hula hoop going around in circles. So weight forward, back, either side. You can make those circles as big or as small as you like. We're just trying to get that mobility into those hips, into that lower back. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to come into Warrior 2 now. So if you can remember back to Warrior 2, we need to bring the legs quite wide. So normally, whatever length your legs are, that should be the distance apart your feet are. And the other reminder is that you've got to bring those arms nice and wide. And again, just imagine you've got little drops of water just coming to the outside of those feet. So that gives you an idea of how wide those legs should be. Obviously, if you have got tight hips and you come a little bit narrower, that's absolutely fine. But when you come into Warrior 2, you need to make sure that this knee stays directly above your ankle. You're not overshooting it, because obviously that will put more pressure onto those knees. So the wider the better, but obviously more comfort. It's more to do with stability, really. So we're going to turn your left foot towards the short side of your mat. Let's just kick that right heel away. We're going to bring those arms up. Just drop the shoulders down the back. Let's put a little bend into that left knee. So make sure you can see your big toe just sticking out the front of that knee. Wonderful. Warrior 2. So we're going to do a little bit of a breath work now. So we're going to turn the palms to face up. And we're going to take a nice deep breath in. So the arms are going to come up as we straighten that left leg. So breathing in, straighten that left leg. Breathing out, coming back down. One more time, breathing in. Breathing out. Wonderful. So we're going to come into a little bit of a reverse warrior. So we're going to turn your left palm to face up. We're going to take a really good, nice reach forward with that left arm. Sweep the left arm overhead into reverse warrior. So your right hand will come onto your back leg, or you can just bring it down behind you if that feels okay. Obviously, if you want to get a little bit more strength or more sensation into those legs, you can bring that heel off the floor if you want to. But again, you don't need to do that. Really just use whatever techniques or how that feels for you. Back into Warrior 2. Let's bring that heel back down if you've chosen that option. Wonderful. We're going to straighten this left leg now, which you'll be very pleased to hear, I'm sure. So we're going to come into a triangle pose now. The main thing with triangle is just try to think of a 2D shape. So this top shoulder should be facing up towards the ceiling, so try not to allow that shoulder to come forward. And the main thing with triangle is all to do with those hips. So let's just bring those arms nice and wide. So we're going to reach towards the left with your left arm, and we're going to move the hips to the right. So just try and do that, and again back to normal. Push those hips out. Back in line. Push those hips out. Reach to the left with that left arm. We're going to rotate round into triangle. So this top arm, obviously, is fine to be up there, but also you can bring it onto the lower back or onto that hip if that feels easier. But the main thing is the shoulder is just pointing up towards the ceiling, not dropping it down. Wonderful. So let's just slowly push down with those feet, straightening those arms, keeping the legs straight. We're going to come into reverse triangle. Bring that left arm overhead. Back to centre. Wonderful. Let's bring those arms down now. So we're going to just turn sides. So let's turn those feet nice parallel to the outside of your mat. We're going to turn your right foot towards the short side. Kick that left heel away. Back into Warrior 2. Bring those arms back up. Put a little bend into that right knee. So again, make sure you can see your big toe at the front of that knee. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to do that lovely breath in. So palms facing up, take a nice breath in, straighten that right leg. Breathing out. Back into Warrior 2. Breathing in. Breathing out. Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to do that reverse warrior now. So let's turn your right palm to face up. We're going to reach forward. That right arm, sweeping the right arm overhead, bring the left arm onto your back leg or behind your back if that feels easier. Again, you've got the option to bring that right heel off the floor if you want to go a little bit stronger, but again, you don't need to do that. And slowly back into Warrior Two. Wonderful. So we're going to straighten your right leg. So we're going to come into that triangle pose now. So again, don't forget the hips. So the hips are going to go to the left, your arms are going to go to the right. So we're going to reach forward with that right arm, move those hips over to the left. Let's rotate round into triangle. So again, the top arm can be up towards the ceiling, or just resting onto your hip or your lower back. Try to get that top left shoulder as far back as you can. Wonderful. Sweeping those arms back into reverse triangle, so bring the right arm overhead, keeping the legs straight. Back to centre. Wonderful. Let's turn both those feet in towards the long side of your mat. So we're going to turn it into a goddess pose now, which is a little bit tough on the old thighs. But again, it's really good to build strength, but again, just be mindful of how this feels. You can obviously stop the video here and then do the split later. It's up to you. But we're going to just make sure that we turn the feet to about 45 degrees. Now the main thing with this one again is protection of those knees. If your hips aren't open enough, you find your knees are coming in a little bit more, just adjust your feet so when you bend your knees, those knees are above your ankles or above your feet. So again, if you've got nice open hips, you can go quite nice and open with those knees, or you can bring them in a little bit more. Okay, so we're going to bring the hands into our heart centre. Okay, so again, like we did with chair, keep a nice long spine. So keeping the chest open, the head up, we're going to just slowly bend those knees. So you can, if you want to, just stop here. Again, you'll probably find the weight in your heels a little bit, which is absolutely fine. Obviously, if you can go a little bit lower, that's also fine, but you will find you'll feel that in your thighs. Let's bring those arms nice and wide. Just imagine you're pushing those walls away with those arms. Nice and strong. We're going to bring your right forearm onto your right thigh. Let's sweep that left arm overhead. Or again, keep onto your hip, nice side bend. Back to centre. Push those walls away. So going to straighten those arms, straighten those legs, bring the arms above your head. Just take a couple of breaths to breathe in. Back down. Push those walls away. We're going to do the same on the left side. So bring the left forearm onto the left thigh. Let's sweep that right arm overhead or keep it on the hip just to come into that lovely side bend. Back to centre. Push those walls away. Breathe back in, straighten those legs. And then bring those arms down into your heart centre. And just heel toe those feet together. We'll come into a little bit of a forward fold now just to get those lovely stretch on the back of those legs. And just allowing yourself just to hang down. Allowing your head just to drop down. And again, if you need to pedal out the feet from here like we do in downward dog, that's absolutely fine. Wonderful. Okay, so very slowly, keeping those hands on the floor, we're going to just come onto our knees. Then we're going to come onto our bottoms. Stretch those legs out in front of us. Wonderful. Again, I'm just going to take a little bit of a forward fold, so just allow yourself just to hang over those legs. So again, if you need a bit of height underneath your bottom, that's fine. Just allow yourself just to drop that head down. And then slowly come back up. Just bring those legs into a nice cross-legged position. Just take a few moments again at the end of this practice just to appreciate what we've actually done. Obviously you might feel those muscles feeling a little bit on the old achy side, which is fine. Just allow that breath to come in and out. Just bring your hands into your heart centre, so lower the head down towards those fingertips. And again, just give yourself that praise, that pat on the back for just achieving another day's practice. Thank you as always for joining me. Namaste. So, hopefully you did okay with that one. It can be a little bit strong in the legs, but the main thing obviously is, you need to build strength in those legs, and you'll probably find after 3 or 4 times of doing this, you'll actually feel a lot stronger, so you can use that as a bit of a barometer about where you are. So the more obviously you practice, the stronger you're going to get in your legs, the stronger you're going to become in your body, the stronger you become in your mind. So any problems, please message me, please comment beneath this video, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.